my family. But I got the feeling that, I want to come back, so I'm definitely ready.
3 years away from the spotlight doesn't automatically mean Errol Spence spent those years standing still. While many fans keep focusing on the long layoff, they often overlook everything that was happening behind the scenes. The inactivity tells only part of the story. What really matters is the work, preparation, and adjustments that took place away from the cameras while everyone else was busy questioning whether he would ever return.
All 7 times, I don't think he'll be sharper than me. I'm better than him. I'm a better caliber fighter. I'm just all-around pedigree. It's going to be a very tough fight. He's a balls to the wall type fighter, very tough. He has no quit in him. Super powerful. It's going to be a very, very grueling fight. I'm sure he's going to give it everything he has. And I just see myself coming out victorious.
Throughout that time, Errol Spence continued putting in the work inside the gym, rebuilding his body, strengthening his mentality, and patiently waiting until he felt the moment was right to make his return.
Say to Tim, because clearly some of the things that you've heard haven't sat well with you.
It's cool, but that's the difference between me and him. He's talking about his fight week, and he's in that mode. I've been in that mode, so I've been in that mode. That's why I didn't want to shake his hand. I've been in that mode. It's time to go, so let's go.
I said that his team that he had were clowns. If he had a trainer who knew anything about the rules and regulations of boxing in his first fight against Vendora, if they had any brains, they would have stopped the fight, and he's still world champion.
I felt like Jeff was the one that I needed in this point of my career, this point of my life, and it's been a positive outlook ever since.
If I didn't train as hard, it's gonna dawn on me during fight night. I'm kind of like a worry freak. It's only your fault when somebody exploits you and bring out that weakness that you already knew you had, but you didn't change the results. So it's better to do it now and not have to worry about your legs getting tired in the fight, because the fight's too late. I'm doing everything, training hard, sparring hard, running hard. I'm ready to fight come April 16th. I'm leaving, so.
He never felt the need to rush back for an easy tune-up or simple confidence-building fight, because that has never been the way he approaches boxing. Every training session, every sparring round, and every adjustment he made was focused on preparing for one defining moment.
Yeah, you got a twist. That's it, leave it, that's it, good boy, just bring it up, that's it. I remember Tim from birth. I remember him being 3 months old and him having teeth and being able to eat meat. Me and Natasha and Costa, we all bungee jumped in Cairns, so we were very, very close back then. I've watched Tim grow up, I've watched him fight, I've commentated 90% of his fights, and my job is looking after him. That's my son I'm putting in the ring now. I don't think that he's somebody else's child. I've got his life, his laid years in my head. I see a huge change in Tim, in his confidence, in his aura. I just think that he knows that he's got somebody who's going to look after him now. And then boom, yeah, make him catch first. He's got to catch. Or he's getting punched in the face.
Now that moment has finally arrived. On Sunday, every question surrounding Errol Spence's long layoff will be answered where it matters most, inside the ring. This is no longer about convincing people that he stayed active during his time away. It's about proving that every day spent outside of competition was an investment toward making this comeback a success.
Some people walk up to me and want to take a picture and things like that. They'll be like, "What's up?" Because I've been coming up here a while. People ask me, "Am I Errol Spence?" It depends on who it is. But sometimes if I don't feel like being bothered, I'll be like, "Nah." And they'll be like, "Man, you look just like him." I'll be like, "Yeah, I get that all the time." I understand I'm not a regular person. People can regularly see me at Walmart or Costco's or whatever. They can see me, with my family, walking, buying groceries, shopping, whatever. I'm not one of those guys, come in at a certain time or, tell the store owner I'm coming in so they can shut the place down or whatever, I like being amongst people and just, being a regular person.
That's it, all distance, Timmy. 2 legs fast. If there's one thing I'm working really, really hard with Tim is on his foundation, having his feet in the right position, because if you've got good foundation, it's very hard to move. And the most important thing is when he's finished punching, he doesn't jump back and be in the line. If I can get him moving to the sides and doing those kind of things properly, very confident that we're going to be victorious on July 26th. Boom, here, bang, after it. He's caught it. That's a good boy.
While Errol Spence was preparing for his comeback, Tim Tszyu was taking a completely different road toward the showdown. Long before the fight was ever announced, Jeff Fenech had already become an important part of Tim's boxing journey. Having known and worked with him since he was a young boy, Fenech understands the person behind the fighter better than almost anyone else. Their connection was never built around a single training camp or one big event. Instead, it has been shaped through years of trust, mentorship, experience, and a relationship that has continued to grow throughout Tim's career.
Now he's had a lot of demons going to his last few fights, and he's been thinking of other things instead of just a fight. So my first and foremost thing is his mental attitude. You don't have a problem with Tim when it comes to training. You know that he's going to give you 110%. 5, 6. Sometimes a little bit too much, so it's better to have a little underdone than overdone. Time! Good boy. Excellent, Tim.
One more?
No.
Jeff, he's not going to try and change Tim, I don't think, as a boxer, but he's going to motivate him. He's going to get him ready, and gee, it just sets the scene for such a big moment in Australian boxing, Tim Tszyu against Errol Spence.
I chose Bangkok for a lot of reasons. First, there's people from all around the world that train there, so we can get some good sparring. The food is amazing. I also love it there because you'll see people and you think this, wow, I thought I grew up with nothing. It's a great reminder. And not just that, it's got great gyms, it's got great facilities, it's got great...
Now, as the biggest fight of Tim Tszyu's career draws closer, that long-standing relationship has come full circle. Jeff Fenech is not trying to reinvent Tim or turn him into a different fighter. Instead, his goal is to bring out the version he has always believed existed, giving his former student the confidence, discipline, and mental strength needed to perform at his very best on one of boxing's biggest stages.
For 3 years, so he's got a lot to prove. In 3 years' time, a lot of new faces arrive, including myself.
For the winner, this is going to put them back to the very top. For the loser, though, this is unthinkable. You lose this fight against a guy who people aren't sure about, and all of a sudden, everything you've built just sort of evaporates again.
I will be victorious.
I'm so confident that he's going to win. The guy that I'm training at the moment, wow, if this guy hits anybody, they're going to sleep.
He has a chance to rewrite history and change his whole life in one fight.
It's my whole future.
This is his legacy.
Show the world how great.
That also explains why Errol Spence has remained so calm whenever people question his 3-year absence from the ring. He doesn't sound like a fighter searching for reassurance. Instead, he speaks like someone wondering why everyone else keeps looking for reasons to doubt him. When asked whether the layoff could actually work in his favor, Spence answered without hesitation. He suggested that many people are simply projecting their own concerns because they would need tune-up fights to regain confidence, whereas he believes he can return straight into a major challenge against anyone. That's classic Errol Spence. No dramatic speeches or emotional reactions, just quiet self-belief. Another moment that stood out was how he backed away from the idea that Tim Tszyu wasn't a worthy opponent. Rather than continuing that narrative, Spence acknowledged that Tszyu is a quality fighter and even joked that his earlier comments were probably made in the heat of the moment. That's the kind of response you expect from an experienced veteran.
Here at Errol Spence, Errol, who's got more pressure on them in this fight, yourself or Tim Tszyu?
I feel like we both have pressure, but it might be him. He's fighting in his hometown, and people expected him to put on a great show and a great performance against a guy off a 3-year layoff.
Yeah. What gets you the win in this fight? Is it your experience? Is it your ring IQ? Is it your jab? What's your path to victory in this fight?
I mean, you said it.
Is that how you say it?
I mean, yeah. That and amongst other things too.
He shows his opponent respect without giving up even the smallest psychological advantage. As the interview continues, another pattern becomes obvious. Every attempt to draw him into making predictions about Jeff Fenech, Tim Tszyu's game plan, or even Derek James is met with the same composed response. Spence has no interest in winning the conversation. His focus is on winning the fight. He repeatedly reminds everyone that fans already know exactly what to expect whenever he steps into the ring, exciting performances and action from the opening bell. That has been the trademark of his entire career. Even when the discussion shifted to Anthony Mundine, Spence remained relaxed, smiled, gave him his respect, and immediately returned his attention to the task ahead. That's the side of Errol many people overlook. He doesn't need loud statements or bold predictions to prove he's prepared. He's content letting everyone else build the narrative while he patiently waits for fight night. Whether that confidence will once again prove justified or be tested by Tim Tszyu in front of his home crowd remains the biggest unanswered question. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Spence isn't carrying the burden of doubt that others keep placing on him. He's carrying belief, and those are two completely different things.
Yeah, definitely. I think the 3-year layoff helped me recover and things like that. So, I think it's definitely gonna help me. I think it's just a mentality thing with some people. They just think just because I've been out for 3 years that, I'm not the same person, or I'm gonna be a shell of myself and this and that, but they're just projecting on me what they would feel because, they need tune-ups, they need to fight 2-3 lesser opponent guys to feel more confident about themselves. Yeah. Where I don't have to do that. You can put me in there with anybody and I'm gonna come the same way.
The more you hear Ronnie Shields speak, the clearer it becomes that Errol Spence's comeback was never built on wishful thinking. It was built on years of consistency. Ronnie explained that the first thing he asked Errol had nothing to do with championship belts, rankings, or even Tim Tszyu. His only question was, have you been training? According to Shields, that answer shaped the entire training camp because Spence had never truly stopped putting in the work. That distinction is important. There is a major difference between spending 3 years away from competition and spending 3 years away from the gym. Ronnie pointed out that many fighters would return from such a long layoff badly out of shape, but Spence was already close to fight ready before camp officially began. One thing Shields did that really stood out was refusing to believe the comeback hype until he saw it for himself. From the very first day, he pushed Spence through demanding workouts, brought in quality sparring partners, watched him absorb clean punches, observed how his reflexes responded, and only then became convinced that this wasn't simply another veteran trying to relive his past glory.
I always tell people, man, don't judge, and I'm not one to judge anybody. I want to see what they have. I can't compare him for what he was. And like I told people, I say, he's going to be better than what he was. I say, if we get a full camp together, he's going to be a lot better than what he was before. And people looking at me like I was crazy. I say, well, you could think I'm crazy. I say, but you got to understand, this is a new, different era of Errol Spence. This is not the old Errol Spence. If it's not going to be something new, there's no sense in him doing it. If he go do the same thing he did before, then why do something now? And you're going to see something a little bit different.
Ronnie Shields took it a step further by saying, this won't be the same Errol Spence people remember. It'll be an even better version. That's a powerful statement considering everything Spence has already accomplished, and coaches rarely make claims like that unless they'd witnessed something behind the scenes that the public hasn't. Another thing that stood out was how little attention this camp seems to be paying to championship belts or future blockbuster fights. Ronnie repeatedly emphasized that this comeback isn't about chasing more titles. It's about Errol proving something to himself. And honestly, that can make a fighter even more dangerous. There is no outside pressure, no desperate search for validation, and no need to impress anyone except the person he sees in the mirror every day. At the same time, Ronnie believes the heavier burden rests on Tim Tszyu because he's the one defending home soil in front of his own supporters, while Spence is simply arriving to carry out the work his team has already invested. Whether people agree with that view or not, it's an intriguing way to approach the fight. This doesn't sound like a camp hoping for one final chance. It sounds like a team convinced they've uncovered a version of Errol Spence that the boxing world hasn't witnessed yet.
After 3 years, it hit him. Man, I might want to do this again. But the intention is not to come back to try to win world titles. That's not the intention. He just didn't want to go out the way he went out. The intention is for his own personal self. That, I may fight 1, 2, maybe, but no more than 3 fights. He say, anytime I lose, I'm done. But it would definitely be no more than 3 fights.
Listening to Tim Tszyu after hearing everything Ronnie Shields had to say almost feels like hearing the opposite side of the same chess match. Ronnie is convinced Errol Spence is returning as an improved fighter, but Tim sounds equally certain that he has grown into a better version of himself. What stood out most wasn't his confidence, because that has never been in question. It was his willingness to admit that he's actually feeling nervous for this fight and that he welcomes those emotions. That's a mindset that can be extremely dangerous. Tim explained that competing on boxing's biggest stage is completely different from an ordinary fight, adding that if he felt no nerves at all, something would probably be wrong. I can understand that perspective. The greatest fighters don't get rid of pressure, they learn how to turn it into motivation. Tim Tim then spoke about combining everything he has learned throughout his career, taking valuable lessons from his uncle, Pedro Diaz, and now Jeff Fenech. At that point, it became clear that his goal isn't to become another version of Jeff. It's to build the most complete version of Tim Tszyu we've ever seen. I even smiled when he joked at anyone expecting him to fight exactly like Jeff clearly has no idea what they're talking about.
But normal club games, do they feel, it's the same game, but they feel different to the players. If I wasn't nervous, then there's an issue. And there's a problem. But I feel it a little bit, and it's great. Honestly, it's so great to have this feeling. Not worried. I'm super confident because I know what I've done and what I'm capable of, and the condition I'm in, and how mentally strong I feel.
That may be the biggest misunderstanding surrounding this fight. Tim Tszyu isn't abandoning the fighter he's always been, he's building on it. He explained that Jeff Fenech wants him to make this a physically demanding fight, but he was quick to point out that this is only one piece of the overall strategy. That's a sensible approach because championships aren't won by imitating great fighters. They're won by taking valuable lessons and applying them in a way that fits your own style. Tim also revealed that much of his recent focus has been on refining his jab instead of taking unnecessary chances, which makes you wonder if fans have only seen glimpses of what he's truly capable of. Add in the move to 160 pounds, his reflections on how the difficult years have strengthened him mentally, and his determination to eventually avenge past defeats, and it becomes clear that this version of Tim is thinking far beyond a single fight. At the same time, he's staying away from social media, laughing about Jeff Fenech's exchanges with Anthony Mundine, and carrying himself with complete composure. That's what makes this matchup so intriguing. Both teams genuinely believe they're about to reveal an entirely new version of their fighter, and only one of them will get the chance to prove it when the lights are at their brightest.
In Miami, and now I've come back. Now I've come to Jeff, and it's let's get in there and let's make it a fucking rough fight. You know, will I just be that? No. There is no such thing as me changing into Jeff Fenech style, no. But I've sprinkled a bit of everyone into this style, and that's what it's about for me.
Now it's finally time to see whose preparation truly pays off and whose confidence holds strong once the opening bell sounds. Errol Spence believed the long layoff has transformed him into an even better fighter, while Tim Tszyu is convinced this is the finest version of himself we've ever seen. Only one of those beliefs can be proven right inside the ring. So, who do you have winning this fight? Do you see it ending with a knockout, or does it go all the way to the final bell? Share your prediction in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, share with fellow boxing fans, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.